Peaceful greetings, everyone. I'm Oscar, aka Pumil, and we have our special guest, Maj. Thank you
Going
so much
on.
for hopping on. And for the record, he is the first Sub 2 student on the Zoom, or not the Zoom, but on the podcast of You Deserve the Win, episode 3. And if you want to give a brief introduction for everyone who's not aware of you, please go ahead.
Yeah, Oscar, first I want to say thank you for having me on here and being the first Subto student. My name is Maj, coming at y'all live from Colorado, and entrepreneur, fitness enthusiast, self-defense enthusiast as well, and real estate investor. And, I've just had a entrepreneur spirit all my life, didn't really figure it out until basically midway through college. So it's been quite the journey to say the least.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm glad you were able to make it. So I want to sincerely thank you for your valuable time and for your energy for sharing the space with me virtually.
100%, man. Thank you for this great space. I'm glad to be here with you. I always see you doing big things, and you're an inspiration, brother.
Thank you. Likewise. It takes one to know one.
Hey,
All
yeah, you
right. So
already
let's
know.
start with the first question. When did you start your entrepreneurial journey?
Pretty much started when I feel like, at least every teenage boy's probably had this kind of avenue in their life where they
Mm-hmm.
start mowing lawns. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you've done it, but
Yeah.
my dad got me into mowing lawns. He said one summer, he's like, "Hey, son, why don't you just go out and start your own lawn mowing business?" Feeling in me was like, why would I do that? Like,
Yeah.
it just, it shifted my stomach in a weird place, but there was something in me that still said, yeah, why don't you? So he gave me the idea as to how I should go about it and how I should go with my pricing. So I just went door to door knocking and offering lawn mowing services at probably age 11, I would say.
Mm.
So yeah, I
That's
wasn't
what's up.
yeah, I wasn't
And
even a
how long did you do that for?
probably did it. So I did it that summer, and then the next summer I kind of did it and just on and off. And then the
Mm-hmm.
following summer I started doing it a lot more so, and it was more so just because other people in the neighborhood saw me doing it. So they said, "Hey, I saw you mowing such and such's lawn. Let me, get mine mowed. Like, how much would you charge me?" So I
Yeah.
ended up doing other people's lawns, and yeah, I just ended up doing lawn work as well, pulling weeds, just like those type of things. But at that young age, I feel like it really built a lot of character for me. It really allowed me to see what hard work would get me. And, until this day, I still exercise the same principles that at that young age till right now.
That's awesome. That's cool. And what's
Yeah,
one of the principles that stuck with you since you learned at a teenage?
that's a great question, man. Great question. Resilience,
Resilience.
rejection. Yeah, dealing with rejection straight out of the gates. Whenever I just reached the door, that feeling.
Mm.
Like, have you ever door knocked before?
Yeah, I've door knocked. I actually door knocked all of last year.
Yeah, I think yeah, you remember. So I remember that. But that moment when you're just walking up to the door, you knock, and then no one answers. Like when I first started, I was like, okay, no one
Yeah.
answered. I went on to the next one, and then over time, I started to realize that probably just not using the best time here
Yeah.
spent, actually trying. So I would then roll up a little piece of paper that had my phone number. Well, not my phone number, it was actually the
Mm.
house phone number at that time.
Mm.
For anyone that doesn't know, back then we had landlines.
Hmm.
So we didn't have cell phones. So I put the house phone number on that piece of paper and said, "We'll mow your lawn at a reasonable rate. Call this number." And then rolled it up, stuck it in the door. And in my eyes, I feel like that was kind of a cop out, to just not even ring the doorbell. Sometimes I would just stick it in there and move
Yeah.
on. And I didn't maximize anything. But till this day, I realized that maximizing my efforts and spending my time wisely, persevering through those moments has really, really propelled me to where I am right now.
Mm.
Just at a deeper sense of that something I'm not even aware of until you just asked me that question. I was like, dang, you know what? That's a good question, Oscar, man. So yeah, that's I didn't even realize that, man. Thank you.
That's cool. That's what's up. And how many no's did you have to go through before you got your first yes?
Man, I did not count any no's. That's I had to have gone through at least it wasn't even that much. Like the thing
Mm,
with me, for some reason, I don't really go through that many no's till I get to a yes. I think it means what I'm doing is working, probably
mm,
more or less. But I would say probably 50. Because
mm,
I worked every house on my block. Okay, more than that. Never mind. Yeah, I definitely work more than one. Uh,
mm,
no, one block here and then another block down the street.
mm.
So let's say it took definitely over 50 or two.
Okay. That's what's up. That's cool. And was the lawn mowing business the only business you had as a teenager, or did you pivot from there and did something different?
The lawn mowing business was something that I started myself, and then I did it with my brother for well, funny story. So my brother, him and I were both doing lawn mowing, but we weren't like working together. He
Mm,
was doing his own separate thing, I was doing mine, and that kind of propelled me to want to do more with my business. So that following winter ended up doing snow removal, and snow removal at that age was it was a full-blown workout, and I never wanted to do it again. But it does pay well. It definitely does pay well for the
yeah.
time spent. Now it did not do well, but yeah, I did snow removal, um and then for my younger years I just kept it between snow removal and landscaping, so
Okay.
that's where it was at there.
So do you have a green thumb, or would you consider yourself
Hell
having a green thumb?
Hell no, 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 definitely not. Don't have a green thumb. The only thing I'm doing like as a green thumb is just the green services that I provide
Hmm.
with my cleaning businesses because everything we use is natural and organic. So
Whoa.
everything that I'm about is all about giving back to the planet and just sustainability, not in like a rah rah type of way, but
Hmm.
it's more of a way where it's uh providing that for myself where I can give back and also other people that are my customers where they can give back as well.
That's awesome. And since you're more conscious about the products you use and giving back to the earth, and you're tapped into that frequency, I imagine you're plant-based, right? Because I saw on your Instagram that you're plant-based. And how long you been plant-based and why did you go plant-based? What's the mentality behind that?
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful question. Um, so how long I've been plant-based, you say?
Hmm. Yeah.
So since 2016, I decided to go plant-based. And the main reason I decided to go plant-based was just I tried out so many different diets. At that time, I was really into bodybuilding and I wanted to find out a way to get more shredded. So I was leaning more towards like pescatarian. So I tried it.
Hmm.
It was okay. Um, well, let me back up there actually. So what I did is I cut out red meats first.
Hmm.
That helped me out, helped me feel better. I
Yeah.
didn't feel anxious when I cut out red meats. And then I just had my white meats at that time and fish. Definitely noticed some results. And I switched over to brown rice because I thought it was the quality of the carbs, but brown rice actually hindered me a bit, made my gut feel weird, and it was not the best route to go. Brown rice isn't the absolute best if you're looking to get quality carbs, and I found that out by experience. So then I decided to go vegetarian slash pescatarian route, and that was fairly okay. I was definitely getting a little bit more abs. It was weird. The more I was changing up my diet, slowly I was starting to see more abs. So I was like, okay, we're getting to the right point. And then I went vegan and I felt amazing. Part of that reason was that I was researching at the time and I was in college. Uh, the meaning to life. And,
Mm-hmm.
as everybody wants to know that question. And it all just came down to me was that you really, or when I say you, I say me and everybody in here, like we get out of life what we put in. And that being said, what I was eating at that time wasn't giving me what I needed. I didn't feel replenished. I felt
Mm-hmm.
anxious. I felt like ass. I did not feel good at all. And I was
Mm-hmm.
questioning like, okay, what am I putting into my body? What kind of water am I drinking? What kind of people am I hanging out with? What kind of content
Mm-hmm.
am I consuming? Who's really taking up all my time? What kind of thoughts are taking up my time? And I boiled it down all the way to the food that I was eating. And I think I was watching this guy. His name's Ralph Smart on YouTube, and he was talking about the frequency of food.
Yeah.
And if you're eating dead animals, it's going to not necessarily replenish you as fully as it would if you're eating plants. And I was like, oh, it's an interesting type of take, on it. So knowing that, and then also heating up food in the microwave that's like chicken, and it was just dry. I remember this one day I heated it up and I took a bite out of it. It was just dry, no
Yeah.
juice and anything. I was like, man, this taste is dead. I mean, yeah, obviously it's dead, but it didn't make me feel good. I wasn't excited to eat it. It felt like a chore. Like I was just trying to
Yeah.
get rid of hunger. So then I decided to just straight up eat salads, and I got all the really, really amazing results that I wanted to get, but I also wanted to sustain my strength. So I did a combination of just vegetarian and vegan for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Just about a couple years ago, I decided to, well, I take that back. Just about a year ago, I introduced sardines into my diet
Mm-hmm.
and salmon. So every now and again, I'll have sardines and salmon as just the flesh foods that I have. But if I do eat meat, which I know I'll probably will, I'm going to hunt it myself, prep it myself, and use everything from nose to tail. So
Okay. Okay. Well, it's a lot of growth there you've done,
yeah.
and you don't even look older than 31 or 32.
Hmm. 32, man, same age as you.
32. Yeah, that's awesome. That's real cool. That's awesome. And by having this type of nutrition, it does affect your mentality where you could operate your business to a next level degree.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I don't share this as well uh, to push anybody to
Hmm.
be a certain diet or what have you, like
Hmm.
to each his own. A lot of people they hear that I'm vegan, plant-based, vegetarian, whatever. They're like, oh well, I eat meat. I don't care. Like
Hmm.
eat whatever you want, whatever makes you feel good. And I say that to say you cannot perform at your best if you don't feel good. So for me, fasting first in the morning, not eating anything until the afternoon. That's what makes me feel good. And if I do feel some type of hunger, I have some fatty foods before I get to that breakfast point. But
Hmm.
like that has definitely contributed a lot to my growth, because if I do have like a very carb heavy meal, I get sluggish. All of the blood flushes from my brain to my stomach because I'm trying to digest my food. So if
Hmm.
I'm talking to sellers, if I'm having conversations and networking with people, I'm not going to be at the very best of my ability. So that's why I decided to, do what I'm doing right now. And in order to do better, you must know better in order to do better. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Okay. And then you said to talk to sellers. Sellers as in real estate, right?
Yeah. So sellers as in real estate, man, like sellers as in customers, even though they're
Mm.
buyers. I notice it all just translates in a way. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean there.
Okay. And how long ago did you get into real estate? Like when was did you have the idea like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing real estate?
I had the idea. So it wasn't even just real estate. So I had the
Mm.
idea when so we let me back up a little bit just to give you a little bit of context as
Yeah.
to why I went that way.
Hmm.
So we have two different cleaning businesses. My girl and I have the carpet cleaning, and then my buddy and I that I've known since like middle school, we have a power washing business.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been running that for 8 years on the power washing side, 5 years on the carpet cleaning side.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, you know, that was great. Trading your time for money is not. So
Yeah.
I was working 12, 16-hour days. With power washing, I would be working at night. So I'll get done with a carpet cleaning job, then switch over, do a power washing job at night.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's late at night, nobody's around, and I'm just doing my thing, I'd be throwing on podcasts, books, everything like during all these jobs for the last X amount of years I was working them.
Yeah.
And I was figuring out there has to be a better way. Like there has to be a better way. Now that I've traded, I'm not necessarily trading my time for money. I'm still right now I'm trading my time, my efforts to get the result. And then once I get the result, then I get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Employees, they get traded their time for money in a sense. Depends on if you're salary, hourly, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So once I found that out, I was like, okay, now I need to step up a bit higher. I need to go from the SE, the self-employed quadrant, if you're familiar with like Robert Kiyosaki, to the
Yeah.
business owner. And that's where I'm still like inching that way to the business owner,
Mm-hmm.
but we got there in a faster direction than others would, given where I was at that time, just listening to podcasts and books. So I came across this bit of content in between trading stock options,
Mm-hmm.
crypto, and investing in crypto, um, and also Airbnb. So I wanted to get in real estate, but I thought you needed a bunch of money to get into real estate. Not knowing that's the case, or I didn't know that you did not need a lot of money. So what I did was I came across this opportunity called Airbnb arbitrage. And Airbnb arbitrage, for those that don't know, is when you're subletting a landlord's place on Airbnb essentially as a short-term rental or a midterm rental. And that's what we did. So I was just binge watching a lot of content on Airbnb arbitrage. And, just one day I get done with this job, a carpet cleaning job. Well, before I even did that, I was talking to my buddy. I was like, hey, man, we should really look into this Airbnb arbitrage thing. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, yeah, that sounds nice. Yeah, sure. That sounds like a good idea. But you know how you talk to people, there's a difference between those that talk about it and those that actually do it.
Yeah.
When I talked to him, I was like, man, if you ain't gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and we're gonna be like, I'm gonna show you this is a reality. And I've always been that kind of person to do things. If somebody just talks about it, I'm just like, okay, but you haven't done anything though. Like you really are just talking, but you haven't done anything though. And I
Mm.
hate that. Like I do not want to be that type of person. It's my pet peeve. And if you're a friend of mine, definitely call me out on it. So I
Yeah.
got friends that call me out on my bullshit. So can I cuss on here?
Yeah, of course. I'm the exact same way though. I love when people call me out, like,
Yeah,
because that's how I grow, like that's how
exactly.
we grow.
Yeah, yeah, man. So that's why I'm like, they're basically self-sabotaging you if
Yeah.
they do not tell you what's going on. So I told my buddy, I was like, hey man, I'm gonna try this Airbnb arbitrage thing. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, why? And I told him, I was like, well, you can make money with just renting out a property that you don't have to come out of pocket that much for. Just straight cash flow. All we need is furniture. My pops has furniture that'll lend me.
Mm-hmm.
I have all the pieces. We just need to reach out to a landlord. It's like, oh, okay. Nothing happened. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it myself. So one day after I get done with a carpet cleaning job, I don't know if have you been to Boulder, Colorado? You were
Yeah,
in
I've
our,
been there. Yeah, I've
okay,
been there. Yeah,
okay,
it's
okay.
beautiful out there.
Beautiful, man. So you know the view of the Flatirons. You're just
Yeah.
like straight up there. So I pull up to the stop sign, look up at the Flatirons after my job, and then I look over to my left and I see this house that looks like a crack house, just tall grass. And there's this sign that's blown over from the wind. And I remember at that time, it was probably October. And I thought to myself, okay, I got all this knowledge that I've been binge watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this property over here for rent. let me just get out of my truck and grab this number real quick. So I parked it in the middle of the street. Nobody was behind me, so I just ran out real quick, took a picture,
Yeah.
called the landlord right there. I said, "Hey, I think his name was Nick." I said, "Hey, Nick, my name is Maj. I'm checking out your property here. I see that you have it for rent. Is it possible that I can check it out? Possibly next week?" And he said, "Yeah." We set up a time, and that's why I said, "Boom, I'm there. Let's do this." And ever since then, we've just been going one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Of course, we do go like get stopped. There's
Yeah.
obstacles just like anywhere in life. But after that moment, when I got my first in, and I called that landlord, and he said, "Yeah, let's meet up." That's where things were pretty much a wrap from there. I don't know if you want
Yeah.
me to go into that story too.
What year was that?
That was in 2019,
Wow.
2019 October. Yeah.
You're talking about it like if it happened yesterday. That's cool.
Yeah, man, because it was just one of those things where if I did it again, I would have did it a different way a little bit. I would have kept going.
Yeah. Well, that happens, with experience. The best teacher is experience,
Yeah,
and the best fuel for teaching and experience is consistency,
a
you
hundred
know?
percent. Yeah,
So like
bro.
everything happens for a reason, in my honest opinion. We just got to connect the dots and figure out the pattern in order to multiply it times 10. Because if we're just doing things willy-nilly without recognizing the patterns, it's a lot harder, but it's not impossible. You know what I mean?
It is definitely not impossible. It's necessary. It's just
Yeah.
you have to earn your stripes in order to get to where you want to be. And that was my way of earning my stripes. Um, just it's funny. So I when I pitched it, so when we went there and I met with that landlord,
Hmm.
I was thinking in my head, how am I going to tell him that we're going to Airbnb his property? I was just like, no, the gears are turning, gears are turning. I think it's
Yeah.
similar to when we're talking to sellers on the phone is
Yeah.
for the first time and thinking like, okay, how am I going to pitch this? And I was watching things online, and one of the main things that I saw was don't say short-term rental, don't say Airbnb, like those trigger words. So what I
Hmm.
told him was like, excuse me. So hey, Nick, I really love this property. As I'm walking through, or after I walk through, and mind you, this property had a single room, like a bedroom that had a separate entrance. And you and I both know separate entrance, man. You can charge right there for an Airbnb with,
Hmm.
it's private entry.
Right.
And I was like, bingo, this is it. So I told him like, this is a really nice property. I love what I see. Uh, I was actually looking to live here. Like we're looking to live on this property, but we're also looking to do corporate housing here, where we're going to house professionals that are visiting the university. They're traveling here for business or for work or something like that, and their studies. So we're also going to be cleaning this property professionally because I have a
Hmm.
professional cleaning company every week. So the condition is always going to be pristine. You don't have to worry about the condition. It's always going to be tip top shape. Would that be okay with you? Like, is that something that would be beneficial? Like, would that be fine? And he's like, yeah, yeah, as long as you pay the bills on time. I was like, oh, snap. Okay. That was easy. And then
Yeah, that was easy. He said yes immediately.
immediately. And I told him like, okay, that sounds good. I'm just going to make sure that I get all the proper paperwork together so that I can share it with you and make sure that everything's there and we're transparent. Um, and the thing that I did wrong at that time was I did not have my name on the deed of the property. However, I knew that and he knew that. And I told him, I was like, hey, so I have my name on the deed of the property. Is still cool if we rent this property out. He said, yeah, that's fine.
Hmm.
So we just moved forward with it and we were renting it out as a house hack Airbnb because that room had its own entrance.
Yeah.
We were paying for rent, but we were also getting some cash flow coming in and learning. Like we were learning how to invest in real estate at that time as a short-term
Hmm.
rental, be hosts, and we were learning all types of things. And we realized, okay, what if, and this is mainly me, because I wanted to maximize everything. Like I love being resourceful. So I told my girl we were living together and I'm just happy she was comfortable enough to be there with me.
Mm-hmm.
She said, or I told her, I was like, hey, so what if we rented out the living room? And she was like, what? The living room? It's like, yeah, it'll be fine. It's like I'll just put a little divider up in the living room, and
Yeah.
it'll be not as um, lucrative as that one room, but at least we'll have some more income coming in. She's like, oh, okay. I mean, we could try it. So what we did is we converted the living room into an Airbnb and then just made it a shared space. And we were renting it out for, I believe is like 35, $40 a night. And we were able to get some people to rent it out. It was at that time, I would say 65% occupancy on that. So we're doing really well on that front. And we slowly then moved ourselves out of the house and we were moving into another property that had a separate entrance. We were going to run the same play. But the only caveat there was the roommates that we were moving into, we got some roommates and they were not on board with doing Airbnb.
Mm.
And I told them, I was like, hey guys, this is going to be an opportunity to learn how to invest. We're going to be able to save on paying money for rent. Like, yeah, we just don't want to share our personal space. And I was like, all right, I guess some people aren't willing to sacrifice what others are in order to get where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, cool. And that in my eyes, now that I look back at it, was a mistake. Um, just realizing that the people I was around and sharing my energy with, they weren't willing to do what it took, like whatever it takes to get to where we want to be. And one is because they didn't have a vision of where they wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And in part, I felt like I inherited that and it allowed me to deviate from my what I wanted to do and not fully putting the blame on them. Like it's totally my responsibility,
Yeah.
not even realizing it though. And then another thing was just resting on my laurels. Like I really should have kept looking for more opportunities after that and just been like, okay, we were looking for opportunities, but when they said no, they being my new roommates said no, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is cool. Still making income from this property, and that's where it
Mm-hmm.
stopped. So
Yeah. All right. And then fast forwarding from there, how many months or years did you start getting involved within the Sub 2 community? Did you just jump in and became a Sub 2 student, or were you part of the free Facebook page for a bit, then you jumped in into the Sub 2 community?
yeah, so I actually got into sub two because uh we lost our Airbnb.
Hmm.
I was like, screw this. We need to figure out a way to find a property and actually own it. I'm tired of just doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
So I was searching all over the place as to how to get into properties. FHA, tried that for a property in Longmont, got under contract, fell out of contract 2 weeks or a week before closing, got a property in Puerto Rico locked up. We were going to house hack it, duplex, FHA. And that was at the time when the market was really hot back in 2021. Fell out of contract because of something that came up with the inspection, and the sellers weren't willing to compensate to fix that, so it
Hmm.
could qualify for FHA. So that fell out, and I was like, man, screw this. Like, there has to be some more. So I found Pace on Bigger Pockets interview or podcast rather.
Hmm.
They're talking about how I think it was like thousands of rentals. And I was like, how the hell does he have thousands of rentals in such a
Hmm.
short period of time? And he was talking about zero down, no credit check or anything.
Hmm.
That was music to my ears because I was tired of all these banks, all these institutions, lenders probing me for financial information because I'm self-employed. And being self-employed and trying to qualify for traditional housing is a kind of a nightmare because as a self-employed individual, you try to take, at least when you're brand new, you try to take as much tax write-offs as possible. And
Hmm.
that's what I did. So it showed that I'd made nothing. And yeah, so that's what led me there. And I was back in December of 2021. And I was in the free group actually. I was in the free group first for maybe a month.
Hmm.
In the free group with a combination of another mentorship that I dropped 35K in, and that mentorship sucked. It was like,
35K in one mentorship?
yeah, yeah,
Sheesh.
yeah,
Hey,
it was bad, man. I was just like, but that was that was the time where I was like, all right, if we do this, we're serious. Like I was talking to my
yeah.
group, we drop this money, like we have to put all of our time and effort into this and
Hmm.
focus on this. Like this isn't just some book. Like we're actually about this life. So
Yeah, like you can't put it on the bookshelf and
nah,
just forget about it.
exactly, man. So that's why I was like, yeah, let's do it. But that one sucked. Came across Pace, and then we're in a free group, and then I was watching all his YouTube content, just
Hmm.
consuming, trying to apply it. I called one of my customers that I was carpet cleaning. She said she was selling her home, and I was like, hey, like, what if we actually purchased your property on subject to? I had no idea what I was saying, and she's like, subject to? What do you mean? So I was like, I'll just take over your mortgage payments. She's like, why would I do that? Because you can get like your price. It was so bad,
Yeah.
so bad. Like as I was talking to her, I thought to myself, what am I saying? And I know that whenever that voice comes up, it's like, what are you saying, bro? Like, shut up. Then I actually am just not even communicating anything at all. So when that time happened, I was like, okay, I need to sign up for
Hmm.
this mentorship. I need to actually see what this is about. Pace also at the time had a Flip Me course, so I was in the Flip Me course, and he was a very good teacher. Like I love the way he communicated things
Hmm.
and led from one topic to another, and then brought it all together, and also keep the engagement throughout. So that was very important for me. So, I've been in since December 2021, and there's around 3,000 students at that time.
Wow. So you've seen the growth.
Yeah, yeah. The growth just happened so fast, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I noticed that when it was probably the summer, it was around like 7,000 or something. It
Hmm.
was growing like instant, but you
Yeah,
know,
right.
it's good.
Yeah, right now it's been growing like wildfire. Like, because when
Yeah.
I joined, it was earlier this March of this year. I remember the day, I think, March 17th, 2023. It was
Mhm.
barely at 8,000 members or 8,000 students. And now it's at 11,000
Yeah, and counting.
and counting. Like, I think it's going to go up there, like probably to 15K or more by the end of the year.
More and more, yeah. I know that Pace said he wants it at a 1 to 10 ratio between sub two and the free group.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
that
incredible. That's awesome. And since you got into sub two, did you start taking action immediately from learning what was on the course, what was on the private Facebook, or did you running at your own pace, like just continue the momentum you had, but you didn't like times it times 10, or like how was that process after you joined the course or the community?
Yeah, man, you're asking some fire questions. Okay. Um, I did take action. So I took
Hmm.
action immediately, but my action was more so just absorbing the content from the
Hmm.
PACE method. So when you're a sub-2 student, as you know, you get access to, all this amazing content, the Zoom
Hmm.
vault, whatever. So I was just going through week 1, 2, 3, 4, and I remember I was going through week 1, 2, and there was a sub 2 meetup at that first week or the first time I got signed up. So I
Hmm.
went to that sub 2 meetup, and I was just trying to get to know everybody, just putting myself out there. But out here in Colorado at that time, there wasn't really much leadership.
Hmm.
So when I joined and we went to a sub 2 meetup, that first one, it was at someone's flip. So we get to the flip, and there's two people in front, and I just asked them like, "Hey, is this for the meetup?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, this is such and such flips." I forget their name, and I said, "Okay, cool." And more people started piling and piling in,
Hmm.
and as the person, as time passed, the person that the flips that he was the person's flip that owned it, he showed
Hmm.
up, opened up the door, everybody goes in, and we're all just chilling in the living room, dining room area, just like in a circle. and that was it. It was literally like that for 10, 15 minutes, people just staring at each other. I was like, what's on? It was just like an awkward kind of like vibe in there. I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
it seemed like the first day of school, but everyone was from different schools, the grade previous, and they all just showed up there. I was like, yo, this is very, very odd. So I started talking to the person next to me, and
Hmm.
then we just started talking. Then eventually people started talking. So it was a good vibe. Later on, it just took a little bit of a, I guess, an icebreaker. But I guess that sums up just any interaction where you take up when you have people that don't know each other. But I think
Hmm.
at that time, the Colorado Sub 2 group was still getting its legs and still growing,
Yeah.
trying to get
It was
familiar.
warming up.
Yeah, exactly.
Warming up. That's awesome. So you joined December 2021 and you were absorbing a lot of information, networking, putting yourself out there. How long did it take to you to get your first deal with Subto, like a Subto deal or a creative deal or any deal after joining?
So when I first joined, I decided to join a team.
Hmm.
So I was watching a Zoom, and I saw that page said, "Hey, yeah, just join a team if you want to get growth, traction immediately. Just join a team."
Yeah.
Um, my girl and I, we did that, but the team that we joined was not experienced. There was a lot of cash backing them, but they weren't experienced. And we didn't, and me going into it, I was thinking, all right, I'm going to give this person or give us, like, this is a relationship, it's not one sided. I'm going to give us 60 to 90 days, see how this works. If we
Hmm.
don't go anywhere, then I'm going to say, like, hey, it's been a good run. I think it's time we should split. So we were doing that. We got a deal or a lead locked up, and
Hmm.
it was a land deal just right outside of Atlanta. And I had no idea how to comp land, nothing. So I tried
Hmm.
to get some feedback on that land. They said, hey, it should be at, I think they said like 15% of ARV, something ridiculous.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, that sounds right. So we got it locked up. The guy was happy that I called the seller and everything like that, and I was happy too.
Yeah.
And it turns out when we tried to dispo it, 1 week, nothing. 2 weeks go by, nothing. 3 weeks go by, nothing. 4 weeks, seller calls, is like, hey, what's really going on with this thing? I told him, like, hey, just reach out to our dispo guy. This is the one that's trying to dispo it. And then the
Hmm.
dispo guy told me, yeah, man, this is just locked up too high. And that broke my heart, man, because I reached out to people that were supposed to be more knowledgeable than me,
Hmm.
but they gave me false information. And I'm like, okay, that's that didn't reduce my learning curve really. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it kind of allowed me to take action, but
Hmm.
still it wasn't the proper action. Um, but to answer your question, man, it took about a year for us
A
to get our
year.
first. Yeah,
Wow. So you were consistent since you started for that full 12 months.
yeah, we were consistent and on top of our cleaning businesses. It was difficult to
Yeah.
make calls to sellers, keep a clear mind, not get discouraged, not have well, shiny coin syndrome was a given. Like I still had shiny coin syndrome.
Yeah.
It was that imposter syndrome mainly for me, um, especially being like a naturally born leader
Yeah.
and not being able to notice it until I step into the role. But then I'm just like, okay, I haven't done a deal before though, because I wanted to lead people in Colorado, especially after that first occurrence that we
Hmm.
experienced at that meetup. I was like, man, somebody got to change this. This is not.
Yeah.
So when I experienced that, I was thinking like, okay, I want to be that guy, but I haven't done a deal yet. So I just want to be able to get more deals under my belt, more deals under my belt.
Hmm.
But after I did that one, I was like, okay, that one is no different than another. It's the same
Hmm.
type of energy to make $1 opposed to make $1 million. It's all the same across the
Yeah.
board. It's a matter of like how much do you believe in yourself that this is actually possible. So now that I did this one deal, I'm like, okay, this is possible. If I don't know what I'm doing, I now have a resource of people that I can connect with, ask them the questions, and get to the results at the end of the day. So, that kind of sped us up to where we are right now, where we have a team that we're leading
Mm-hmm.
uh, out here, mostly in Colorado. And we have 4 going on 5 locked up right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're switching over our CRM, so it's going to be a whole process with that. But man, I I, I wouldn't even have imagined to be where I am right now. I'm just grateful to be where I'm at. I mean, I'm not like killing it, but I'm killing it in my own lane, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
not focus on other people because it's really hard to keep going if you're always comparing yourself to other people and saying, like, oh, they got a deal from tired landlords. Let me switch to tired landlords. They got a deal from probate. Let me switch to probate. Like, it's
Yeah.
easy. You just got to stay in your own lane, I realized.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is this one. It's success is a progressive realization to a worthy ideal. So
Hmm.
you're definitely successful because like if you're progressing towards your vision or what you've envisioned or what you've wrote down on paper like as your goals and you're progressing towards that, you're already successful. Successful is not a destination. That's something that I learned from Wallace D. Waddles, and I
Yeah,
recommend his books. He's real good. He's real good with his books. And I think you're definitely killing it. Like not comparing it to anyone, comparing it for where you are right now to your past since when you first started back in 2019. That
yeah.
Maj compared to the Maj of 2019, you're definitely killing it, bro. It like
Thank you.
for sure.
Thank you, man.
And
I
if
appreciate it.
yeah, for sure. And for anyone who's listening right now and then who's gonna listen to this later on to the recorded version, what do you recommend? What 3 things would you do if you were to start all over and you only had $111 to your name?
111.
Yeah, to your name. And you were getting started. And this is without having with being in sub two or not being in sub two, just
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I would say um belief, like belief on like unshakable belief in myself.
hmm
And this book that I actually am reading right now, it was free for me because I've been seeing this my whole life, but it's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
yeah.
And it's just shifted the way that, and it's not even that expensive. It's $14 on here, it says. But
You
it's
could go to used bookstore. Those are my favorite stores.
yeah. Oh
Used
man.
bookstores.
Man.
That's treasure. You find treasure there.
Yeah, so many gems, so many gems. So the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People really made me realize how much visualization is a part, like a key portion to success,
hmm
and using the power of the subconscious mind and the imagination. And I don't want to get too religious, but it's a part of, like, God is right there. And that's a perfect way to communicate with him is through that. And it's priceless. Like, it's priceless, but it also costs you nothing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that are simple but people overlook, is the
Yeah.
power of information that's in a book and us also in ourselves. And the other thing would also just be perseverance, like just sticking it
Perseverance.
through. Yeah, just being able to take the hits no matter what. Like, I remember my first time I chatted with Pace on a live. I was so happy. I was like, oh, he called on me. He called on me. And like, he I asked him, it was so, I wasn't even reading the room, bro. Like, I tell you, like, I was just so in my head. Uh,
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, yeah, this is awesome. And I didn't even think of the topic. I was like, hey, so I got a deal in New York. Is like, Maj, I am talking about one of the most important things in my life right now. You're talking about a deal. I was like, yeah. Because he was talking about at that time NFT he was releasing. I don't
Yeah.
think he released it yet because there's just been some stuff going on with that.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, bro, like I finally got a lead, bro. Like, I'm excited. I was so new. And
Yeah.
see it in my face. Like I was just like, "Meow." Like my head is just like, damn, man. Like my first time Dr. Pacey just gets pissed. Like he gets pissed at me. And in my head, I was like really thrown off. I was like, all
Hmm.
right, I can either get in my own way and get in my head and be like, fuck this guy. Now he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and just but instead I was like, you know what? I probably didn't read the room right.
Hmm.
Let me just try again. Let me try again next time. And then, 15 minutes, 10 minutes go by. I raise my hand and it's like, Maj, is this a question about what we got going on? I was like, yeah, this is a question about what we got going on. But that made me realize that it's not always the story that you're telling yourself isn't going to help you win all the time, especially if it's a story that's negative. You just have to be patient with yourself, sit and reflect, you know, and then try again. If you come
Hmm.
across those obstacles, just try again, try again, try again. Because for myself, I really have allowed myself to get in my own way all my life up until the last couple years ago. Um, just the way that I was brought up with people just not thinking that I would be able to get things done. And when I
Hmm.
was like a kid, I was told that I wasn't able to read properly. I was told that
Hmm.
I should get a special course because I could not take in content as easy as other students would. I was like, man, being able to hear that as a kid and grown ass adults to say, hey, this is fact. This is what you need to do now. It
Hmm.
wasn't fact, because I made it to college, I graduated college. And I think if I didn't go through that in itself, I wouldn't have been even, if I didn't go through that whole thing in my earlier childhoods, I wouldn't have landed me to where I am now. Because
Yeah.
now I'm able to persevere and get through things. And I realized that everything external where people are telling me I can't do it, it's actually just all bullshit. It's just a matter of me telling me what I can do. And I say
Hmm.
that for anybody, that is looking to do something. It's just a matter of the story that you tell yourself. Because other people can tell you the story about you, but it's up to you if you actually want to believe that.
Hmm. Okay. So to circle back to the three things that you would do if you only had $111 to your name. First
So
one
yeah,
is
I went on. My
yeah,
bad.
no, no, you're good. You're good. That's a great story. You gave get I love examples after an answer. Like those are
Yeah.
the best answers in my opinion. So the first is believe in yourself.
Mhm.
Second is read and apply what you read. And
Yes.
specifically the book that you read was the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And
Yep.
you could get that book at a used bookstore for half of the price that you just said, or that's on the book. And then the
Probably for
third
free.
one,
You never know. You can
yeah.
just good conversation with the person at the store. They'll probably give you a book for free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Indeed. And then the third one is perseverance. Just persevere and just keep going.
Yes,
That
sir.
that's awesome. And since you said you got that book for free, can you give us like the quick short story of how you manifested that book without you going out of your way to get it? It actually came to you.
Yeah. So I would actually see this book my whole life. When I graduated college, or graduated high school rather, I
Mm-hmm.
was really into personal development at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, I remember when I graduated high school, I read The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy.
Yeah.
Very, very awesome book. And right next to it was this book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. But then there was also Think and Grow Rich
Mm-hmm.
and Psycho-Cybernetics. So I was like,
Oh, that's
okay,
a great book right there, Psycho
oh,
Cybernetics.
yeah, amazing, man, amazing.
Yeah.
So when I saw those books, I was like, okay, they all sound amazing. And then this one seemed the most cheesiest. I was like, what seven? Why seven? I was like, I ain't gonna read
Yeah.
that. And every year I pass by in the bookstore, like
Yeah.
it's cheesy title in front of me, and then I just kept passing it. But I ended up signing up for a high performance coaching
Mm-hmm.
with Marlon in Subto.
Okay.
Yeah, I joined that, but then at the same time, my mom brought this up. She's like, "Hey, Mads," my mom's half Filipino. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Anak, do you want to read this book?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I would read that, but we'll see." And then Marlon on the first day, he said, "So I want everybody to get this book. It's going to be something that's going to be really key to um, our whole process throughout these first 12 weeks." I was like, "Okay, cool, let's do it." And he said it was this book. So I'm like, "Dang."
It lined up.
Yeah, it was synchronicity. I asked my
Yeah.
mom after that. I said, "Hey mom, do you got that book still?" She's like, "Yeah, it's somewhere." And I was trying to find it all over the house. Ended up finding it, and yeah, I'm making my way through. I've been taking notes every which way I can, stopping, repeating, and going through the book.
Yeah.
Writing it down, and because it's one of those books that it has exercises at the end of each chapter
Hmm.
where you could take action, and that's where you actually start to extract the information and apply it, because it's the applied knowledge that's actually going to get you somewhere, not
Hmm.
just absorbing the knowledge, but it's taking it in, reflecting on what it is,
Yeah.
applying it, seeing how that application went, reflecting on the application, and doing it again. So that's something that really really crucial for me.
That's inspiring, man. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That's real cool.
Yeah, bro.
Hey, and
Yeah,
to add on top of that, when I bought because I bought it, right? The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
you
I
did.
I bought that when I was living in Denver.
No way. This is probably
Yeah.
your.
No, it's not that one.
Nah,
It was a different cover, but I bought it at a
okay.
bookstore in downtown.
Downtown.
I don't know if you're familiar with the bookstore. I think it's the only bookstore there it's at the end of the train station, close to the new train station. Because like
Mhm.
there's a new station there, right? That was just built like a few years ago.
Yeah.
Before it didn't exist, but towards that area, that's where the bookstore is at. It's like going towards the park. You know where the park is, right? At
Yeah.
the end of downtown.
Right.
So like I bought it there, and
Bro.
I thought it was cheesy too. I was like, habits, and then
Yeah.
like effective people. I'm like, this book sounds interesting. Like it just sounds like for smart people, and I want to be
Yeah.
intelligent. Like it sounds like only intelligent people would have this book, and that's why I got it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was all about self-development too, because I was 22 around that time frame. Right
Yeah.
now, so it was 10 years ago, and that's why I got the book, because at that time I was reading Think and Grow Rich and other books that complement that. Psycho Cybernetics was with John Maxwell. I was reading that book too,
Mhm.
and then I'm like, I'm gonna just get this book too, and it was game changer for sure. So it's crazy how, well, it's not crazy, it's normal. This is our normal, right? It's
Yeah.
crazy to the average person, but to us this is normal. How I
Yeah.
bought that book in the city, because you live in Denver, right?
I'm in Boulder actually. So
Boulder? Okay, so Boulder and Denver is 1 hour apart. So
yeah.
it's almost the same.
Almost. Yeah. It's not too far apart. Like it doesn't take that. It depends on where you're coming from. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Traffic
so
is.
that's real cool. And since we're talking about books and we're coming to an end, what's one book that you recommend to people that are getting into real estate?
Um, it's a good one.
And Pace could be watching this this podcast in the future. So if you leave his book out, he might be butthurt. I'm just playing.
You said one book though.
I just like all right, we'll do three books. Three
Oh,
books.
three books now. Okay, now. Well,
Yeah, I put you on the spot, bro.
he definitely did. He definitely did. But I'm sure Pace wouldn't be mad because I mean, all his content is a given. Like if you're in real estate, you definitely got to jump into sub two, regardless.
Yeah.
Most of the books that I'd really recommend are mindset books because I
Hmm.
think that's one of the main things if you're looking to jump into real estate, hell, even business in general. You just got
Hmm.
to get your mind right. And
Yeah.
one of those books would be The Go Giver. Go
Okay.
Giver,
The
great one.
Go-Giver.
Yeah, The Go Giver is a great one, and it made me real like that was a book that Pace actually recommended, and he did a podcast with the author of the book.
Yeah, I saw it in the vault.
Yeah,
It was a great podcast. Jamil
really,
was on there too.
yeah,
Yeah,
He's-
he did it for Jamil's birthday. He got him on there for Jamil's birthday.
yeah, man. I was like, whoa. it was just totally complete opposite of the way that I thought. I was very competitive type of thinking at that time,
Hmm.
and just thinking like, okay, I gotta do better than everybody else, and I just gotta look out for me. But
Yeah.
then it was the complete opposite, and it flipped the script on me. I only read it once, or no, twice. I read it twice, so I got
Hmm.
to make a round at it. It's one of those books that I would read over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's that one, and another one for real estate. This one's a little bit. All right, so I would say it's just because I love this guy and the way
Hmm.
that he teaches about the subconscious mind
Hmm.
is breaking the habit of being yourself.
Mm.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, and
Okay.
it's really essentially the rewiring of who you think you are and your idea and image that you have of yourself, and how you can
Hmm.
train your brain through quantum physics and basic applications that the author presents in the book.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would recommend as a book to everybody. And another one is The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. And
Neville Garda, he's not talked about a lot. I'm grateful you brought him up.
yeah, no, he's not. And Keston actually brought him up, and I've heard of his books every now and again, and I got his whole collection of books after hearing that book. And if you listen to audios, it's a 2 hour book, and I've listened to it maybe 4 or 5 times
Hmm.
already. And it's just one of those books that you have to pause, rewind it, and be like, hold on, that was deep. Pause,
Hmm.
rewind it, or just reread it if you have a physical copy. It's one of those
Yeah.
books I'll be getting a physical copy along with the audio, so I could just
Yeah.
listen every which way. But I would say those are the three books for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. My favorite one was the third one, Neville Goddard, because
Yeah,
he was ahead of his game. He was
ahead, bro.
talking about what people talk about right now, but during the 1930s or
Yeah,
1920s or 1940s, so around that time frame.
yeah. He was
And
using deep stuff. I'm like, man, what,
yeah.
bro? Like, he was like Nikola Tesla of the self development game.
Oh, for real. I agreed. 100% agree.
Yeah,
And I really like how his last name is still lives with the Guard Art School. I don't know if they have them over there in Colorado, but
I know.
I seen them everywhere here in Texas. It's called the Guard Art School, where it's a private school for early development, and they teach you about like skills that you should have for your life as you get older. So it's not your traditional school system.
I
It's
love
because
that.
first of all, it's private, but at the same time, from what I've looked into, they teach what Neville Goddard taught to everyone, but in the school system too. So they teach children from like early ages to mature ages of like, hey, your imagination is key. That's how you create your reality. Because not many people could use their imagination consciously, right? Because many people use their imagination unconscious, for an example, like the worst things. When they worry, they stress about things, they're using their imagination for what's the worst situation that's going to happen. And they're visualizing that. Not only that, they're adding feelings to that. But when it comes
Oh
to
man,
visualizing a positive experience that's going to benefit them, it
yeah.
they're not capable of doing that. Or or they are capable, but they just don't know how to do it.
They We're all capable for sure, but
Hmm.
like you said, we don't know how to do it. And it's like working out, like we all have the ability to bench press, to squat, but not all of us have the capacity to add on that intensity of the action. And that's something that we need to do on a consistent basis if we're looking to use the power of our subconscious mind or our imagination and do it from a place that has intent, and you're doing it from a place of mindfulness. Because a lot of the things that people do on a day-to-day basis, they are just passenger riders. They're just chilling in the passenger seats, and their subconscious minds in the driver's seat, just
Yeah,
in it, going wherever they want to, and they're
yeah.
just along for the ride. And that has been something that I never wanted my whole life. I think at
Hmm.
a subconscious level, I've always just looked to learn new things because I read somewhere when I was growing up. I think it was in a psychology book in college
Mm-hmm.
that the mind stops growing at age 28 or 30. I was like, hell no, really? And
Yeah.
I just did some more research and I was like, okay, that's not the case. There's this thing called neuroplasticity where the
Yeah.
brain changes shapes and it's proven. And meditation already shifts the brain's chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
neurochemistry, and the buildup of how it's shaped. So, meditating, visualizing, praying. I actually did a speech on that in college. At
Mm-hmm.
the, this is just something that is near and dear to me because I think that a lot of people need to tap into that dreams. I think that people need to tap into these things that are often overlooked but very powerful.
Yeah. And what's one practical step to do that, to tap into that you could share with everyone?
A practical step is to take a minute and just be with yourself undisturbed and just be alone with your thoughts. Breathe, focus on your breathing. I think I did a podcast with Anna. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about the power of meditation
Mm-hmm.
and how it got us to where we are right now. But I'll just say, just start with 1 minute, and you can use the things such as apps like Headspace and all those type of things. But
Mm-hmm.
Headspace, over time, it just becomes like training wheels, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually you take them off. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I thought about as well when I was meditating, and I always had to time myself. And I was like, okay, this is relative to time,
Yeah.
right? Let me just sit in a space and then just be instead of thinking how long have I been in this space or how's my breathing going or who's going to interrupt me.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually down the road with when I've been doing my meditations, you start to advance and do different type of things.
Okay. Okay. I like that. Appreciate that. And last question is, what is your vision that you see yourself living in within the next 12 months? Where is Maj going to be in the next 12 months in business and in his personal life?
In business, we're going to be hitting $1 million in both the power washing business and revenue,
Mm-hmm.
and also the carpet cleaning business. And we're going to have a full on real estate team that's going to be doing acquisitions mainly. And we're going to be buying those properties that we're
Mm-hmm.
acquiring from the cash flow that we're getting from the businesses that we've purchased through creative finance. So that's what I see for us in uh, 12 months. And then personally, I see me waking up in a property that's not quite coastal, but quite like you could still see the beach, you could still see the ocean,
Yeah.
smell the salt in the air, and hear the ocean, and you can see a 360 view of the sunset and the sunrise. And we're gonna have marble floors, preferably about like a white grayish marble floor, the kind that you if you get wet you might slip on.
Yeah.
Hopefully not, but
Yeah, yeah.
that tight, and yeah, I just visualize myself being there, falling asleep and waking up to it on a consistent basis.
And
So
so it is, and so shall it be.
yeah,
That's
God
awesome.
willing. Yes,
That's
sir.
real cool. I trust it's gonna manifest for sure. You're working towards it, and no one's gonna stop you except for yourself. So,
Yeah.
like, that's incredible. And if there's any way that I could help you in some shape or form to help you manifest that vision, I'm here. You could text me, you could call me. I'm
Thank you.
more willing to help to the degree that I can. And I'm gonna say it first. Early congratulations on manifesting that vision.
Thank
You
you, man.
know,
I
it's
appreciate
a
it. The
and
least you
then
could do is help me jump on a podcast and you be my first person that I interview because I still need to be able to interview some peeps for my
okay,
podcast. Yeah.
absolutely. It'll be an honor. I'll love
Yeah.
to do that. I just gotta mentally prepare myself because I know you're gonna be coming with a lot of questions that I have to have a lot of answers.
Yeah, you've been coming with the heat on this one, so I'm just like, man, I gotta get mine together. I gotta get my questions in order
Yeah.
and see what I got.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate your time and your energy for showing up.
Um,
And you definitely brought a lot of value to myself and to the listeners. I want to thank the listeners for taking the time, for listening and tuning into this episode 3 of You Deserve the Win. And now we're just going to come to an end. And I'll definitely love to have you back, Maj, especially within the next 12 months or 24 months, whenever, because I know you're going to be a busy man. Being a millionaire, that like, there's small time, to actually do another podcast, I imagine, right? But hopefully it'll work
anytime,
out.
bro.
I trust it'll work out. And thank you
Uh,
so much for coming on.
Thank you,
And
bro. Thanks for
thank
having me. It's been a pleasure.
likewise.